I could look at that and go, well, what's the point? Or I go, well, I'm better than I was in 2019. I enjoy it, so just stay in your lane, chip away and control what you can. And when those things, like what happened in my prep, come in, you can either fold, which I could have done and I would have got sympathy from everyone, or you just push on. And to be honest, when you get through that point, you're able to look back and go, like, fuck, I'm proud of myself. You know, like that's the main thing.
Manifest Podcast.
Love a poddy. Andrew Mahoney. Welcome, brother.
Here we are, mate. Thanks for having me.
Always, brother. Always glad to have someone like you on our podcast, for sure.
Yeah, a bit of a blow-in.
I remember we were talking about it at the gym one day, probably even September last year, bringing up the idea, and you said you were keen. So
yeah, bro.
Here we are.
I'm a bit of a lightweight. I only got one podcast on my belt to right now, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, hopefully many more to come, bro.
Yeah, that's it.
Also got our big Geordie joining us. Big Jedi had to pull out. He's got COVID.
Yeah.
So couldn't handle it from the weekend.
Pull in again.
pulled the pin. But yeah, bro, what's a bit of a brief?
Who I am and what I do.
Yeah,
so, name's Andrew Mahoney. Grew up in North Coast, New South Wales. Pretty much left straight from school, joined the army, did 8 years in the military as a plumber, and from there, I'm now a commercial plumber. I travel Australia and Asia Pacific doing like wastewater systems and whatnot. Yep. So keeps it interesting and all that. And yeah, I've been, other than that, really the only other hobby I have is the gym.
In the weights.
That's it. It's always been there and probably hopefully always will. So.
Yep. So based on GC now.
Yeah, live in the Gold Coast, have now for about 4 years, and can't see myself leaving anytime soon. I do enjoy it, but plus I'm not there full time, so yeah, I'm a bit all over the shop.
Yeah, how does that work with your work? So how often are you in Gold Coast and then moving again, like for work?
So it's no real roster. Depends on the job. Sometimes I'm away. Usually it's a week on, week off on site. When I'm back, I'm still working, but just doing bits and pieces, book work and so forth. But then, if I'm away, some jobs I can be away for 2 to 3 weeks. And a lot of us drive in, drive out as well. So, driving up past, Mackay and so forth, which is a bit hectic, but I do enjoy listening to a good poddy as well. So gets me through.
Yeah, for sure. I know you've gone as far south of Sydney and everything, eh?
Yeah, man. We've done pretty much Australia-wide, Western Australia. We do Fiji, Papua New Guinea, and even went over to Vietnam for just a few days just to do some stuff over there.
True.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Keeps it interesting, but it comes with its challenges, obviously. Having maintaining relationships and so forth. It gets a bit tricky, but you just got to do what you do.
Yep. Yeah, bro. Well, pretty much the whole topic probably beyond talking about today is your bodybuilding career, bro.
There's not much of it. It's just mainly I've competed twice now.
Oh, I think it's pretty.
It's pretty cool, but
I've just always enjoyed training. I started training probably when I was about 13.
Yeah.
But I always say started training when I was 13, didn't know what I was doing until I was about 22, 23. So had no idea as far as nutrition, trained every day of the week. It's just ridiculous.
The thing with that, bro, is you never had YouTube.
Oh, that's what I always say, man.
Bro.
I'm so jealous of the youth today. I didn't even know what legs were. It was all, it was chest, shoulders, arms, and back. Back maybe, but these days, I was thinking about the other night. I had back then the only thing I had to reference was, I don't know if you ever saw Muscle and Fitness magazines.
No.
Oh, dude, they were like Men's Health, but more bodybuilding style. Yeah. And then there was Arnie brought out a book back in the day, Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Which was like this thick, had all your little programs in it, all your exercises, nutrition as well. But you look at the nutrition now, and you're like, most of that was wrong.
Yep.
Skull and milk. And shit.
It's always changing by the day,
dude,
bro. This is good for you today. Tomorrow, it's this is bad for you. Do this instead, and it just keeps going. So
it is what it is. Yeah. But I look at the kids now. They've got YouTube, Instagram, all that. They
everything.
If you want to know something, how to bring something up, how much even protein you should be hitting, anything like that, you just Google it and it's all there. So
that's right.
Lucky kids, but still got to do the work.
Lucky.
So
100.
Yeah, but so I've competed twice. First time was WBFF in 2019. Yep. I'm a stickler for having a rough prep.
Yeah, I've seen on your Instagram massive injuries, 6 weeks out.
Yeah, so
that's insane.
My first prep, I was in a good stage at 6 weeks out. Then I went to a mate's 30th, and I was actually Deso driver because at that point I didn't drink anymore. I haven't drunk since, but I got king hit by a bloke just randomly. I was on my phone. King hit me. Fractured my cheek, split my lip up to my nose. Didn't knock me out, but got me solid.
Yeah.
That rocked me for a few days. I had to literally blend up my meals, like blended chicken and stuff. And I was like, do I keep going or do I just pull out? End up continuing on. Then I had a car crash about 3 weeks out. Wrote the car off on my way to work. Someone cut me off, and I had a 2-ton trailer, so couldn't stop in time and ploughed into him. And then 5 days prior, split with my ex-partner, which was we'd been together 2 years at that point. So I was just out of the blue too. So it just these things, you can use them as an excuse or you can use them as fuel.
Yeah, that's right.
At that point, I was so locked in. I was like, no, I want to make it. Which, in hindsight, I looked okay, but there's certain areas in the body that retains fluid if your stress is high, like midsection and stuff. And I look good from the back, and I look pretty average from the front, to be honest. So it is what it is, but still made it. So I was stoked, but end up placing 5th, I believe, in muscle model.
Pretty good for you first.
I was happy, man.
Honestly, bro, through all that stuff, man. Still
definitely.
So it was tough, but I got there. I was pretty proud. But then, and I should say, coming back, I always wanted to compete growing up, but I think I was about 25, so it was 2016 maybe or something. I ruptured my bicep off the bone, fully ripped it off, tendon and everything. Had to get it stitched back on. So that was, to me, there's no point. The surgeon said, mate, you can't lift weights anymore. They always tell you the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So it took me a long while to not only get back to training upper body. It took me about 8 months of no upper body. Then I had to get it back to where it was and try and start growing again. But also, when you have it's almost a deformity. When I get lean, I can see that my biceps are different, and you judge yourself so much harder than others do. So I'd be looking at it going, I don't want to get on stage and look at that bicep and pick out your weak points. But, so it took me a while to get to stage until 3 years or so after that injury. But when I finally got there, I was stoked, and I hit the stage again last year, and it was probably even a worse prep, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was tracking real well, and then I split with my partner again about 6 weeks out. Different girl, obviously. But then, I had my father have a heart attack 2 weeks out, and then 5 days prior, he passed. So it was just obviously you can't plan for that. And my dad was actually as far as my family goes, they've never really understood bodybuilding, but my dad was always pretty proud. And you go to the barbecues, he's like, oh, look at my son, and all that kind of shit. Yeah. So he was the main reason or supporter within my family anyway. So it kind of gave me a bit of drive to still compete, and shook me a bit. I ended up throwing out. I've been practicing this routine for 15, 16 weeks, had it locked down, and then Dad passed. I was like, nah, I'm doing his favourite song, which was Hey Joe by Jimi Hendrix.
Yep.
And just went out there and winged it, really. I had this bloody routine I'd done 5 or 6 times, so wasn't smooth, anything like that, but to me, it was a big moment because there's a guy, the CEO of IFBB in Australia, Tony Doherty, actually called me out, and he'd heard about what had happened, and he said, everyone has excuses, blah blah blah. This kid's just had this happen. Here he is. He's still coming out. He's still gonna have a crack. And to be honest, probably one of the proudest moments of my life, which was awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome, bro.
Yeah. That's the thing, bro. So I think we met about late August, early September, bro. And same thing, bro. I think it was probably even your first time at stadium.
Yeah.
It's when the gym just opened, bro. It's when I was about mid starting out my YouTube.
Yeah.
Bro, you came up to us, bro. Introduce yourself out of nowhere, bro. And same thing, it's big bodybuilder, oh fuck, he's not gonna talk to us, bro. And that's the thing, all all the big boys are always the nicest boys in the gym.
Yeah, and that's because most of them have started from where the young fellas are, and they respect the fact that they're just in there in the first place. Like I remember when I was about 22 and I was wanting to turn the corner and actually have a decent crack, and I always looked okay, but like never, like you wouldn't look at me and go, like that dude knows what he's doing kind of thing. Like just had decent shape, but a bit fluffy, whatever.
Yep.
And I went up to this bodybuilder back home, which there's none. Like we're all, pretty general population kind of looking people down there, except there's one guy that's I think he competed in like ICN worlds or whatever they have. And I went up to him and said, look, I know what I'm doing training wise, but I'd love to have someone coach me as far as nutrition. And I'm happy to pay obviously and stuff like that. And he literally told me that he's like, I'm the biggest guy in the area and I want it to stay that way. And I was like, well, that's kind of like a backhanded compliment because you're kind of telling me that I have the potential to be bigger than you, but at the same time, you won't help me because you just won't. Like it.
True.
It was weird, man. So for me, I was like, instead of going, like getting upset about it, I was like, I never want to be that guy. Like I'm going to go out of my way to be the opposite. So like with you, I came up because I'd heard you were getting into the, content and stuff like that and watched a couple of your videos and I was like, yeah, this is sick. So, credit where credit's due and try and motivate someone even like, though in my point of view, I don't look at you like, oh, like I'm some bodybuilder and you're down here. It's just like, I'm looking at you like he's got this and go for him. So highlight that. And you're looking at me like, oh, this big bodybuilder, is giving me kudos.
Both Reese and I were like, fuck, it looks like the Australian Bradley Martin. That's what we said, bro.
I literally I was up in Cairns last weekend with the missus for a weekend away. And we're sitting there having dinner at like Grilled or somewhere. And this woman comes up. She's just been eating with the family. They walk out the front. And she comes up. She goes, excuse me, I hope you don't mind, but my son just said he thinks you're Bradley Martin. And I was like, oh, I'm super flattered. But Bradley Martin's like 6'3", like about 120 kilo. I'm like, I got some growing to do before I'm at that. But I get it. But it's usually Bradley Martin, shave the beard as Jason Statham. Either way, I don't mind. Both of them are units. So.
Yeah, 100.
Yeah.
But yeah, bro, from there, like, you then invited us to do a video of you down in Gold Coast, bro.
Yeah.
Just went out your way and took the drone out on the beach. That was dope as. And then from there, bro, just even every time you came at Gladdy, bro, you invited me to do sessions with you and learned so much from you. And I remember when you were going through your stage with your old boy was suffering, bro. Like, you wouldn't even tell, bro, because he was still just you. You still had your smile. You weren't angry at anyone, bro. That's why I have so much respect and inspiration from you, bro. So
I appreciate that, bro. It was really tough. And, like, I'm the kind of person, like, what I learned from that situation is everyone, so I'm one of three brothers. I'm the youngest, but everyone deals with stress differently.
Yep.
So my eldest brother is very, like, open with his emotions. Like, he's, like, really caring, like, which we all are, but he's very, like, open. He's, he wears his heart on his sleeve kind of thing. My middle brother, a bit more subdued, very almost, he breaks things down. Like, he's very logical the way he deals with stuff. And then me, I'm kind of like the mix in between.
Yep.
So I try and think of things logically, but at the same time, got all this emotion. And when I was coming to the gym at that time, like, you wouldn't see it, but I'd come in at 3 a.m. to do my cardio and my posing.
That's the thing I knew, bro. You were doing that. So.
I was hoodie on, start posing. I had multiple times where I broke down in tears. Just like, it was weird. Like, you'd be feeling good, and then it's just like, but you just know that emotion just has to get out somehow. So, that was why in that, last year when that all happened, I ended up making stage for IFBB. I was supposed to compete in WBFF 2 weeks later. And then I just, like, got to the point where my body was like, what are we doing? Because I'm dying even harder because I wasn't happy with where I was and stuff like that. And I rang my coach. I'm like, mate, hitting the wall, like, I don't know what I'm doing. And he's like, well, you got nothing to prove. Like, you've made it to the stage. You've done yourself proud. You've done your family proud, your dad, blah, blah, blah. So there's no, like, do what feels right for you and also what's probably good for your body. Because at that point, like, I was sleeping like 2 hours a night. I was just, oh man, just stemmed up trying to make it through every day and still trying to work like full time. It's tough. So
I think people understand how it would be for you to be able to traveling away from like literally working away from home,
away from your family,
doing a prep for a bodybuilding show, which I don't think anyone understands how insanely hard it is to do.
It like takes on your whole life. Yeah,
right. That's just
It's something that you learn as you get older. Like I was probably in my late teens, early 20s, and I'd look at guys like Bradley Martin or like these freaks, and I'm like, I'm doing everything. Why aren't I there? You know what I mean? Or why don't I look a certain way? And you start to learn, one, if you're a tradie, like, we're all tradies here, you're on your feet, your body's dealing with so much extra stress.
Yep.
It's not wanting to recover and grow like what these guys are that works the PT or like that, sit at an office job or so forth. Yep. So straight away you're starting as a deficit for when it comes to growth. Now it can be done obviously, but there's also obviously the genetic factor. Like I look at my rest of my family, no one's looks like jacked. Like you stand me next to my brothers and I look completely different. And I've just been like slowly slogging away, and I look okay on the stage. I'm stoked with how I look as per my potential. But as soon as you start bringing into like the account that I was standing on stage with like 22-year-olds, and they're way bigger than me. It just looks so much better. But it's like I could look at that and go, well, what's the point? This kid's only 22 and his legs are better, he's this and that. Or I go, well, I'm better than I was in 2019 and I enjoy it. So just stay in your lane, chip away and control what you can, And when those things like what happened in my prep come in and throw you, you can either fold, which I could have done and I would have got sympathy from everyone, all this kind of stuff. Or you just, try and push on. And to be honest, when you get through that point, you're able to look back and go, like, fuck, I'm proud of myself. That's the main thing. You go through that adversity, push through the other side of anything you do in life, and you make it to the other side, and you're like, holy shit. Like,
yeah, bro, even just you, like you said, standing on that stage, bro, like, would have made Dad fucking proud.
Well, yeah, it was pretty epic. It was pretty awesome, but yeah, I remember trying to pose, man, and my legs were just like shaking like a bitch, man. I'm trying to like hit a side pose, and but did what I did, and it was super enjoyable. And it was like, as far as bodybuilding preps go, like anyone who's ever been in a real deep deficit would understand, but it's probably one of the hardest things you can do.
Yep.
Like I've done some tough stuff in my life, but because it's, everything about your body and your like mental health is like, you need to eat. Like we're starving. It doesn't know that you're doing it deliberately.
Yep.
And it is tough. Those last like 4 to 5 weeks, you're digging deep. So yeah. But it's all part of the game, I guess. You choose to do it, so you can't complain.
Yeah, 100%, bro. So obviously you started gym when you were 22, sorry, but is that after you went to the army? I joined the army straight from school, man, yeah. So I was 16 and 9 months, I think the youngest you can go. 2000, yeah. So I stayed in school, probably should have dropped out in year 10, but I was like hanging around just to play footy, really. And I ended up dropping out halfway through year 12 because I applied for the army, got accepted, but for a plumber, the uptake's every 18 months, I think, or 12 months. Okay. So I had to wait for the next uptake. So I was waiting around until like, I think, May of 2007. Then got the call, yep, off you go. And to be honest, it was the first, like, I went from, my mum and dad were divorced. So my mum mainly raised me. So I went from kind of not getting away with stuff, but when you raise your mum, you get a bit more leniency than you do your dad. And went from that to like complete regimental, like people screaming in your face. Like some of the stuff we went through was insane in those first, like Kapuka, those first 3 months of basic training, to the point where my older brother, the middle brother, he's ex-military as well. I rang him 2 weeks in. I'm like, dude, what have I done? Fuck it, I want out of here. And he's like, you're in like the hazing period where they're like super strict, super vicious for the first 2 to 3 weeks. He goes, give it another 2 weeks, and if you call me with the same request you want out, I'll get you out somehow. I was like, righto. So I pushed through the next 2 weeks, and it all just got easier. You start actually learning stuff, and it becomes enjoyable. You're doing weapons training and going out bush and whatnot. So yeah, it was a good learning curve for a young kid that
probably had it easy, didn't have many life skills. They teach you like everything. And from there, ended up doing 8 years. So I was trained as a plumber by trade. Now, tradies fall into what's called engineer corps. So there's different corps. There's like, infantry corps. Like each one has its own different speciality. So being an engineer means bridge building, bomb disposal, all that kind of stuff as well. So you go into that first, and then you do your trade after. So did all that, got posted to a unit down in Sydney, and from there in 2012, so I was with a partner at this point. I actually got married really young. I got married at 20. Yeah, it was pretty heavy, but like growing up, I always wanted, that was like, guys were like, oh, I want to travel to the US, I want to do this. My goal was always like, just want a family, good missus, kids, just stable income, like happy. Like
that's the thing, bro. Like times are changing. Like back, like you look at my grandparents and they were married at 19, 18, I think, exactly. And had my old boy at 2019. So like, and same thing, my old girl. So it's just over the years now, and like that's probably one of the biggest problems having these days is everyone's just, you got your Tinder and all that, and fucking no one can last a relationship more than 6 months half time.
100%. And not only that, man, they prioritize like the fact of like, so motherhood, for instance. Like as I get older, I look at like my partner, Chanel, at the moment. She's been amazing. Been with her for 7 months. She got a daughter. That was the first thing I saw that attracted me to her. It wasn't her looks, which she's gorgeous, but it was, I looked at her and I was like, holy shit, she's got pictures of her daughter and her on her Instagram. Daughter's always smiling, looks healthy, happy. And that to me is like, she's got her shit switched. Because there's girls on Instagram that, for whatever reason, you don't even know they have a kid. It's like hidden, and they don't want to display.
Well, they don't want guys to see that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not what they're proud of. Yeah. So for some reason they don't post it. I saw, she was open about it. That's what attracted me. And that was like what I wanted. I probably rushed into it, like in hindsight. Don't regret it, obviously, because at 21, had my daughter, Alexis. So had her in, 2011. And then in 2012, start of 2012, when she was 6 months old, I deployed to Western Australia ended up being about 12 months, which was tough because I only came back for 2 weeks in between the 12 months, just for 2 weeks pretty much. Came back, daughter didn't know me, like it's hectic, you're over there. That was probably the hardest period of my life because you're working 7 days a week, living in tents. And what we're doing over there is we work for a remote Aboriginal community, just putting in like family centre, childcare centre, building homes, doing their roads and so forth, and just helping the community as a whole. So very fulfilling work. However, super tough on the household because the wives and the partners are all back home. The hours between Western Australia and New South Wales is 2 or 3 hours difference. So I'm knocking off. Daughter's already in bed. Mrs. is tired. She's been up all day, whatever. Just a nightmare. So obviously the relationship deteriorated in that time, and you're also not getting paid much. You're getting, I think, $20 extra a day. So it's not worth being over there. But as a whole, you feel good about yourself because you're helping this remote community that doesn't have much. And that was probably the toughest deployment as far as what military was. Because then I got back, I was home for 3 months, and then I deployed to Afghan for 10 months. So, Kandahar, Afghanistan, did about, 10, 11 months. And as tough as it was, I actually really enjoyed that deployment because the Afghani people are some of the nicest you'll meet. Like, they were just beautiful people. And you just feel, I went to Afghan, even at this point, I was not arrogant, but I was pretty self-centered, I would think. Like, compared to what I'm now, I thought about myself a bit more than I did others and how the others felt and so forth and viewed me. And I went over there, experienced what those people go through on a daily basis, and came back just to the point where I'd be sitting at the table and one of the boys is whinging about some chick didn't text him back, and I'm like, shut up. But
it opens your eyes up, and that's why I love the idea of traveling the world, bro, because you don't appreciate how much you live in, like, to live in Australia. Like you don't even go on Bali, bro. Like, yeah, it's all, you get on the piss and shit, but like, if you actually step back for a second, look at how they live.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, it's and there's two types of people. Like, obviously, I saw how you've recently gone to Bali. There's people that go over and respect the culture and, you know, are just awesome to the general pop. And then there's people that go over there and try and live like kings and disrespect the people. And you see that and you're like, those people, you know, you just don't associate with them. You know, like I've been over there before with mates and I've just like seen how they talk to, you know, someone on one of the mopeds and I'm like, fuck that. Like, mate, you just, if you're talking to that person like that, I don't want anything to do with you. So it really eye-opening how people deal with others in third world countries because, you know, we're all human. We're all dealt the cards we're dealt. You don't have any choice. Yeah. You know? So it just is what it is. Yeah, but thoroughly. Afghan was eye-opening. So little rundown on Kandahar. When I deployed, my mother obviously was freaking out a bit. So I told her, I'm like, oh, Kandahar is like, it's chill. Like, it's like, as far as Afghan goes, don't worry, mum, like, we're sweet. Because it is a massive base. There's about 40,000 personnel on it. 50-50, so half are military, half are contractors. And when I got over there, you go into Dubai first and you do all your, like, in-country training, like get used to the climate, you know, do all your weapon drills. Yeah, for about 2 weeks at a place called AMAB. And then you fly into country. So I started looking into, you know, Kandahar when I got to AMAB. And it turns out because Kandahar's like surrounded by mountains, it's the most hit. It's not super dangerous as far as people attacking you, like personnel driving in or anything like that. It's a really good defense situation. However, because there's all these mountains, it gets rocket attacks like very common, like 100 to 200 rockets come in a year. So we get in there and it's funny because you see how people react under stress very quickly. First alarm goes off because there'll be alarm. They'll notice it coming in and they've got, you know, sensors out there, whatever they've got. And the alarm starts going off and you either freak out, which, you know, for the first week I was on edge a bit.
Yeah, of course.
Or you're just like, it's all good. Yeah. Like, at the end of the day, you hit the deck or you find cover, but what can you do?
That's right.
Like, so, you know, when you're 3 months in, there's still people running around screaming.
I think American Sniper is probably one of the best films from that point of view. What was actually like? Yeah,
there's a few there, man. Like, I really like that. That was a good movie. And even Lone Survivor, as hectic as that is,
no.
Mark Wahlberg's main character. That's actually based on a true story, and it is wild because that's Afghan as well. And it's just shows the country, like kind of the terrain you're walking through and stuff like that.
I think people actually understand that how fucking cold Afghanistan gets, man.
Yeah, Afghan,
like, it's a desert. Everyone's like, oh, it's hot as fuck,
dude. Because we were surrounded by mountains, I like really remember that in the summer it'll be like 40 degrees and you'll look up and there's snow-capped mountains. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, it's just wild. So yeah, it's completely unlike anything you'll obviously come across in Australia. But because of that, it's so different, so eye-opening. Like I said, the people, the culture, it's completely different.
Yep.
So, yeah, thoroughly enjoyed the experience. Obviously, it was stressful as fuck.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Afghanistan, that's pretty full on. So 10 months there.
Definitely an eye-opener. Yeah. It was, to be honest, like that period was very eye-opening. It was enjoyable in a weird way because it, like, you know, you come back a different person. But it also, I got back and probably 3 months after I discharged from the army and had this job lined up. And yeah, the transition, which you hear about a lot of, like suicidal, you know, issues and so forth with ex-defense personnel, you kind of underestimate the effects when you're in the military because you don't realise how it's not so much you're indoctrinated into the military, but your way of thinking, like, you literally, like, you know, over there I was with a bunch of guys that would literally die for you. Like, you just, you know, I wouldn't even like the bloke and you just, you know, you do what you got to do. But you get back and there was a period of time for me where I really struggled to either find friends that were loyal, and just simple stuff like just
that's so true, bro.
just
Wow,
not
you'd be
talking
so
shit
used
about
to
like
that.
yeah, man. It baffles me because I look at like I don't even care if I'm having an argument with a mate or so forth. I won't go and talk shit about him to someone else because I look at that as a bad reflection of me. Because why would I be friends with this person if they're a shit fighter?
Straight up.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So when I got out of the army, I moved back to my hometown, which is near Yamba, New South Wales.
Yep.
Small town, and just not many people into training and so forth. So the guys that were, it was like a kind of an egotistical environment. You know, there's guys thinking they were the big dogs, and it's always that mindset of you can either be the big fish in a small pond, which that is a small pond in that area, but I'd already been in Sydney, been in Gold Coast and Brisbane. I knew how big guys are around the country, so I'm the small fish in a big pond. You know, no ego when you go to the gym. Like we're all trying.
It's so tiring having such a big ego, man.
I don't know how.
So tiring.
Yeah, like looking at everyone trying to, be better than them and whatnot. I just to go in, get my stuff done, and I just wouldn't talk like with you. I want to lift others up and see people progress. I don't want to, even if they are ahead of me or bigger than me, it's still awesome to see guys and girls just getting it done. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I really struggled, and there was a period where I hadn't done my bicep at that point. Bought a house, moved into it, did my bicep that week, couldn't unpack a box, couldn't move a couch. So mentally like debilitating. It just cooked me. And you just go through a period especially post deployment, but also post military service, where you really struggle to find purpose. Which you hear it. So many people talk about that with young men like Jordan Peterson and so forth. It's all about with men. We need purpose. Like if we got purpose and we're striving for a goal, we're good. As soon as we're lost and we don't know where we're like our direction's just fucked.
That's where
it just goes to shit.
When you have goals and you have, say, whether it's the gym or work, whatever it is, you live in the present. But when you don't have any drive, you're sitting on the couch watching Netflix every afternoon, you start thinking about the past, which is depression, or you start thinking about the future, which is anxiety.
Yeah. And you're just treading water. Like, it just, there's nothing that good that can come from that. You end up, seeking validation from people that you probably shouldn't and so forth for things that you shouldn't be feeling good about anyway. And it's just like, it's toxic. And that's the whole thing as well with the whole sympathy side of things. Like when I did my bodybuilding prep last year, I was very hesitant to tell people about my situation because I didn't want people to go, oh, poor Andy. Yeah. Like that to me, it's such a juggling act where you want people to open up and talk about mental health. It's great. But there's also an addictive aspect to that where people thrive on sympathy. And they're getting attention for whatever reason, and it just becomes addictive. And they end up just not moving forward because, whenever you have adversity, you go, oh, I can't do it because of this or this, and you just end up the same place every time. So,
but touching on that, like, you definitely need those one or two friends we do talk to, and that's it.
That's it. And a true friend will be, like, no matter what happens, they're there for you, and they're not talking shit. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I've always kind of been like that in an aspect. I remember growing up, and this isn't throwing shade at the boys I grew up with, but we'd go to parties where the same girls were at the party every time. And they'd all be competing for the same girls. Yeah. And I'd be like, fuck that. Like, I don't want to be in part of that because my mate's trying to get with her. That guy's trying to get with her. Why would I try and... Like, it's just... You stand back and you just don't want to do it, really. So, it's just a different mindset of, like, trying to find those blokes that are just got you back no matter what. You know, you go through your highs and your lows. Easy to support you when you're high, super tough when you're low, but you need to be comfortable opening up.
So true, bro. Yeah.
And you boys are a lot younger than me, so you're probably going to struggle more so locking down those boys that have really got your back.
Oh, pretty much got us.
Got him, bro.
Yeah, well, there you go. You lock them in, and
it's pretty much us. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's all you need. So, and it helps when you've obviously, because I grew up with boys that they all, like I said earlier before the podcast, I don't drink anymore. Haven't drank for a few years, and I lost a lot of friends when I stopped drinking because it was that.
All they want to do.
It's and every time they catch up, it's like, oh, let's go have a boys' weekend. Let's get an Airbnb and hit the piss and get fucked up. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool, but can we also like go do something? You know, do some activity.
Yep.
Let's go fucking skydiving or something cool that we all go, fuck, remember that time that we, or go out camping and go fishing, whatever. But yeah, there's so many guys that if you're not drinking, they look at you like there's something wrong, where there needs to be that balance, like nothing wrong with drinking, but there's a time and a place, and you should be able to hang out with your mates sober as well as drunk.
Yeah. I don't know how to explain like our relationship, like probably got like Geordie, Jet, Dom, myself, Matty, Geordie's brother, but like I feel like why our relationship is so strong is because we've been like you'd never mention a millionaires, but we've been in some bad situations together. Yeah. Where everyone's pointing the finger, but like over time we've just come together even stronger from it. Yeah. And that's why our bond's like I don't think
and you can't get, that's what, like what I said with the military, like you can't get that tight a bond without going through some real tough situations, and it like galvanizes the group. It just brings you together. You don't have any choice, and it weeds out the ones that aren't down for it and that don't have your back. And that way, stressful situations show people's true colours. Yeah. So, if you get something happens and all of a sudden, someone just goes flaky and just chooses a girl over you or whatever, when you need that person, then you're okay. Well, no offense, but fuck you. Like you can't be putting in effort to people. I've multiple times looked at someone and thought I can help this person in this situation or so forth, help them out of a tough situation, then they turn around and stab me in the back, and it's just like fuck. Like I don't care that much that I've helped a person. However, it's energy that you don't have limitless energy. So if you can invest your energy, you want to invest in something you get in return for, whether it's financial or if it's just like energy back, someone giving, caring about you. Like it's so draining when you're in something like a relationship or a friendship where it's give, and that's just energy, like not money or whatever, but it drains you. So you just learn to cut them.
Yeah, bro. It's such a deep rabbit hole, eh? Going forever from that, like
it is.
Down that bastard.
But when you find the boys, you lock it down.
100%, bro.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah. Finishing off this one, future manifestations, bro. What's the plans for the future?
Plans for the future, to be honest. So I haven't had a smooth bodybuilding prep yet. I'm gonna next year, season B or possibly season A the following year, 2025, lock in one more show.
Fuck yeah, bro.
Yeah, I'd like to do a season like the state show and the national show.
Yep.
And just see if I can just nail a smooth prep. I've got my missus is awesome that I'm with, and she's just very supportive in that way, and she understands the lifestyle. So it's like that side of things. As long as your home life is, and the work life is always going to be up and down, but I can make that work.
Yep.
But yeah, really want to lock in a show, either next year or the year after, and just have a really good crack, look at it and go, I'm happy. Like you just, no stress or not, no unforeseeable situations happen, as smooth as it can be. And other than that, career-wise, I love my job, still travel and so forth, and it's just enjoyable for me, doing big jobs and being a supervisor as I am, and traveling around Australia. And obviously we've talked in the past about the whole apparel situation.
Yeah.
So I've been super slow on getting it sorted, but I don't mind because I've been going back and forth with suppliers, just trying to really nail what I want, because not only do I want to obviously supply quality, but I really want to, when I drop it, have the stock. I don't want to do like pre-orders and so forth. I want to I've had a few people that I know that have done that kind of situation where, like who wants to buy one? Yep, deposit, then they order, and there's like a month wait or whatever. So I want it all stocked up. Boom, away we go. Pretty low key, but I'm kind of just staying in my lane at first. It's just stuff that I enjoy, and if people enjoy that, oversized tees, tanks, hats, so forth. Yeah, and just from that, if it goes all right, then I'll start, spreading out the wings and seeing how we can go in other aspects as far as the apparel. But just something I'd enjoy. There's nothing more I'd like better than to go in a gym and see someone wearing a t-shirt that's I've designed or so forth. And also really want to just have like I always, obviously, like with you, I'm traveling around Australia, meeting people in gyms and so forth. I really want to have literally stuff in my car, walk in and just do like funny stuff, like hit a kid up and go, hey, like train with me this session. Let me get a few clips, and I'll give you a hat, a shirt, and whatever, like stuff like that, just to keep it interesting and keep it positive. And really, like I always think with this brand, it's kind of thing that can it can really kind of butterfly effect out, just positive things. So that's pretty much the goals. For a few years anyway.
What about because you've already got a bit of a following now on Instagram.
A little bit.
Do you ever want to potentially take on the influencer path?
No.
Gym?
No, I enjoy it, but I definitely went through that phase. It's very hard to juggle. Obviously, so my partner's got a daughter. She's just turned 4. Got dogs, got home life, all that kind of stuff. It's like over Christmas, I really looked at that and I was like, it's like I said before, with investment of energy, do I invest it in trying to get somewhere that and getting traction, or do I invest in this relationship and my habits and so forth, which you're going to get a great return in that aspect. Like if you're seeking validation and just trying to get, like, yes, it would be cool because I really enjoyed doing went through that kind of like comedy style reels and so forth, just trying to get traction that way. And that was enjoyable because it was a positive thing putting out there. But as far as actually, becoming a content creator in the way that, you've got to be following, you got people, messaging and hitting you up all that shit. I'd rather invest my energy where it's going to be reciprocated the most positive way.
Yep.
Which is obviously my partner and a daughter, and my daughter obviously as well. And from there, whatever happens when it comes to the brand and so forth. But we'll just see what happens with that when we cross that bridge. So,
yeah, bro. I respect for that. That's
fair enough, bro.
I think it's just hard to juggle. You can't work a full-time life, like job, have a home life, and still put that extra time in.
It's tiring.
It is. Sitting at a laptop, editing a movie or a video for 2-3 hours of a night when my miss is sitting there, I've just been away for a week. She'd be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Which I completely understand.
Yeah, there's a lot of time in that editing and...
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah. And which, hats off to them. The people don't understand what goes into it behind the scenes. Just to get
everyone just sees the video and so good.
I know, that's good. I spent like 2 weeks doing it. Yeah. So, fuck.
Yeah, bro, 100%. Well, I think we'll pull it there, bro. But fuck,
thanks,
man, that was
really appreciate
good podcast, bro.
That was awesome, bro. It's good talking to you.
Do appreciate it, and hopefully down the track we'll do another.
Yeah, bro. If I had to finish it in like one word, inspirational, bro. Like
100%.
Appreciate it. Yeah, the main thing is, I suppose, the message as a whole is just you can have a massive impact on someone. Like what I tried to do with you. I came up out of the blue. I've done it to a few people back in the Gold Coast that I've seen their content, or like even just them physique wise. Massive impact just by saying one little, like heartfelt compliment.
That's the thing, bro. Like people like me, like starting out, seeing you, like honestly, I look at your physique, I'm like, holy fuck, man. Like Jack just fuck. Even though we all know what body dysmorphia is like.
Oh, man, it's shocking.
It's the fucking worst, But you come to me, like, how much that sparks a flame more heart.
Exactly,
bro.
And that's it, man. Like it
works.
Small
things that make the biggest difference.
Yeah. And it works both ways. Like I take it as a grain of salt now. Like I literally go to the elevator on the way here, and the dude's like, "Oh, big fella, how you going?" And I was like, I almost feel embarrassed. Like I don't feel like I'm big at the moment, whatever. But it's like you can either make a massive impact in a positive way or a negative way. Like even just a smile in the gym, or like just being positive, because I got the beard, got the shaved head and tattoos. People literally look at me and go, "This is some bikey," and I'm just like, I don't want that kind of that image out there. As much as I look that way, I want people to look at me and go like, like, oh, like they gave me a compliment, like I'm in the gym, and the guys asked me how my day was, or just actual like positive, straight up like compliments. Not none of these standard ones that you hear people just talking shit. But
it's too easy to backstab these days, eh?
It is, unfortunately.
Very easy. Righto, cheers, brother.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, bro.
Manifest Podcast.